Hello. 14 weeks, 15 weeks, 14, 15 weeks into lockdown. The madness must be setting in. So I thought I'd put on a shirt and a tie, a jacket, and do some card magic, because why the hell not? As you probably know, I love magic with cards, and an interesting thing you may or may not know is that whenever a magician says pick a card or he shows you a card trick, the roots of that card trick is probably deeply intertwined and mixed in with the history of gambling with cards. Prevaricators, tricksters, dodgy blokes that would go to backroom poker games, with cards up their sleeves, cheating, complicated sleight of hand. That's really the bedrock of most modern day card magic, believe it or not. And in fact, there was a book in the early 1900s, 1902, I think it was published, called Expert at the Card Table, which was pretty much like a bible of all of the mechanical moves that gamblers use at the card table, and magicians use it to this day to do lots and lots of their tricks. So I thought I'd show you a few things from that. Stop blathering on. So let's imagine that you were at a poker game and you might want to find the aces or the kings or something like that. The cards are of course going to be shuffled as they go around the table, because it's just a backroom poker game. Lots of money on the table, potentially thousands of pounds still, but you get kind of this kind of shuffling, maybe like a kind of an overhand shuffle. You might get multiple cuts of the deck from someone just to sort of kind of really randomize the order, which you've got to be able to kind of deal with. Or you might get a real professional Vegas style kind of table riffle shuffle, right, which is kind of looks a little bit more like this, and you can see that these cards really are being shuffled into each other. And you might even get some table cuts like this as well, where the cards are face down. You're not getting any flashes of any cards. You know where nothing is, and you've got to find some good sexy cards, right? You've got to cheat. So what do? Well, the first thing you do is you can sort of spring the cards and have a little glimpse for some key cards. I'm actually going to take a little bit long, but I'm going to try and do something impressive and find 4 of a kind for you. So doesn't take too long. The world record, believe it or not, is under 20 seconds to memorise an entire deck of cards like this. But that is not what I'm claiming to be able to do, because I don't have the mental faculty or capability of doing that, quite frankly. But I do have the ability to memorise 4 cards, which I've just done, and hopefully cut to them. You have to be quite precise at this point. That would be the first one. That is the one I was going for. You might not be sure, but when you see the second one, which is 24 cards down from the top, you'll know that there's a particular bunch of cards I'm looking for. The third king, let's do 3 cuts for the third king. It kind of makes sense and feels nice. There's 2 cuts. Here's the third. That would be the king of clubs, which means the king of spades is left till last. I know where it is. I'm just shuffling it into position now, so I can now cut to it, do something a little bit flashy. You would never do this at the card table. Woo, 16 revolutions in midair. You'll know if I found it before I did. Hopefully, yes, that is the king of spades. So yeah, just mechanical technique, no real magic, so to speak of, but you can see how close that is to magic. And I'm going to try and do something now, which is, let's see how this works. I'm telling you now, sleight of hand. It's 100% sleight of hand. There's no real magic. But I'm going to do something at the end. I'm going to do like a gesture, and I hope just for a second, even though I've just told you it's sleight of hand, just for a second you're going to go, and it's going to feel magical. I hope, maybe, or you're going to get a little bit of surprise, you're going to go, oh, it felt magical, and you'll see how close this is to magic, and you can see how sleight of hand obviously then sort of evolved, linked deeply into kind of card tricks and stuff. So let's try that. I'm going to do like a gesture, and something's going to. I won't do that. I'll do something else. But let's see. So look, let's take these kings. Let's grab a bunch of random cards, stick them on top of that king, and then put that on top. So it's buried 5, 6, 7 from the top, whatever it might be. But then shuffle lots of stuff on top of that and keep going. Just sort of really mixing up that king somewhere randomly into the middle of the deck. Let's do it again. Put a load more random cards on top of this king and shuffle him again deeply into the deck. So this is a good English overhand shuffle. You'll all be familiar with it. You know it's pretty fair. I'll mix it up at this point. We'll put some random cards on top of this king, and we'll maybe do some cutting, some really extensive cutting with the deck like this. A few fancy flourishes, a couple more cuts like that, and then there you go. go. So we're really getting the multiple cuts going now. There you go. And you can even see if I shuffle, if I spread them, I should say, out like that, you can see that there's all sorts of bits. If we push them together, smush them together, get a nice mix. And finally, of course, the last king. 3 random cards on top of the last one. And unbelievably, all 4 kings. Come back to the top. See, kind of felt like magic maybe, just for a second, even though you know it wasn't. Let me show you one last thing that magicians can do. It again, it just really seems like magic, but it's kind of come from the world of cheating. So if you were to get a pair of kings in poker, the odds of that would be 1 in 20. If you was to get 3 kings, triples, 3 of a kind, I should say, in poker, that would be 1 in 47. It's a good hand. If you was to get 4 of a kind, the odds are 1 in 4,134. You don't see it very often. So magicians might come to games, not magicians, sorry, card cheats might come to games with aces and kings snuck on them in various places. So let me show you something quite cool with that, and how you could cheat by sort of hiding cards on you. But we need a crappy hand of cards. If this is going to be what we're going to sneak in, let's use the 3s, because one of those was near the front. Now I'm going to use all the 3s. Now, of course, you'll realise that the 4 3s are, it's one, yeah, right at the front. Of course, the 4 3s are just as good odds-wise as the kings. Obviously, the kings would beat the 3s, but this is still a blockbuster hand, is my point. This is a great hand, but I don't want to use a 6 and a 7 and a jack and a weird stuff, which is also a bad hand, because I want you to very clearly see the distinction between when I switch a 3 for a king. So, for the sake of this demonstration, this is the rubbish hand. This is the good hand. Hopefully, that makes sense. I hope so. So you imagine you're in your card game, and the dealer has just dealt you the rubbish hand, if you like. So the 3s in this instance. You don't know that yet, but they're just going to go down, those 3s on the table just here. But unbeknownst to the dealer and all the other people at the table, you've snuck the 4 kings into different pockets, all on your suit. So let's do that now. The kings. One in there. We should put one there, and yeah, two last kings. I don't use my trousers. Let's put one in there, and this is going to be a tough one. We'll go in the inside pocket for that one. So imagine you've got people smoking cigars, and they kind of might be drinking from their whiskey glasses. Cards are being shuffled and dealt. You go to pick up your cards, and it doesn't matter what you've got on the front, but remember, they're rubbish. They're 3s in this case. But you've got your kings set all around you, and without anyone really, this happens so quick. Look at this. You just give the tiniest of flicks. I know it looks impossible, like I could have just gone in there and got the king and dropped one of those 3s in there, but that is exactly what just happened, because sure enough, a king jumps out of that pocket. Look, you get to watch it again, see if you can see anything. It just happens in it really is just a flick. And actually, when we have a little look through now, there's 2 kings. Look, I'll show you, there's the second king, just jumped out from that pocket. So at this point, we have 2 kings managed to escape from my pockets. Watch this one right here. Done. That becomes a 3, because we now have 1, 2, 3 kings. 4th one here. Have a little look. No funny business. Again, it seems impossible, but that would be not 1, not 2, not 3, but all 4 kings. The odds of getting all 4 kings is 1 in 4,134, and that would be a pretty game of poker. Thank you. And you might be wondering, actually, about those 3s. I did say that every time I was finding a king, I was dropping inside a 3. So we have a 3 there, and of course one of those 3s jumped to there, and it appears as though it never left your sight, but at some point it got switched, and good lord, I can't even remember where the cards are at this point. Yeah, yes, there we thank you very much. It's a little expose on cheating with cards and a little bit of magic too.